On this episode, I welcome David Lester and Alexa Gray from OLIPOP. If you're in the CPG or beverage industry, you have certainly heard of or seen this brand that seems to be absolutely crushing it. I wanted to get them on the show to look under the hood a bit and understand why that is. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome, guys.
Hey.
Having us.
Thanks for being here. You're a brand that I've been wanting to speak with for a while, so I was super stoked when you said yes, and you're my first guest of the year, so I'm very happy about that. I just wanted to jump in for the few people on the planet that don't know your brand. David, what is OLIPOP and why does it exist?
OLIPOP essentially is a healthy alternative to soda. Contains range of botanicals, plant fiber, prebiotics to support digestive health. And the reason it exists is really my co-founder Ben. He began his journey exploring digestive health really back in his teenage years when he was eating standard American diet, and I made a decision to switch and saw a lot of not just physical but also cognitive benefits from making that switch in his diet, and became very fascinated by kind of gut brain connection and how he could take the benefits of digestive health to a broader audience. And as we all know, in the natural products industry, it can be very hard to get people to change behavior. It's hard enough to get people to buy a different brand of diapers. So our goal with this really was to meet people where they are. Soda's delicious. It is pretty accessibly priced. It's has real cultural and emotional resonance for people as well. So if we're going to start to make a distinct change and get fiber and nutrient diversity into people's diets, we kind of recognized we had to create a product that people could easily pick up. And so that's really been our goal with OLIPOP, that kind of dual perspective of being very serious about the science. And we do our own clinical trials on the product, on the ingredients we put in there, but also taking just as seriously how it tastes and how we market it to people, so it's as fun, delicious, refreshing, emotionally resonant as the sodas you grew up with.
Got it. So I'm going to go off script right after question one. And so it was not always a soda. It was this amazing product. And you felt from a marketing point of view and a brand point of view that soda was the vehicle for delivery. Is that how it went?
Yeah, I'm kind of paraphrasing Ben's story a little bit here, which predates me. This is actually our second venture together. We had a prior venture called Obi. That was in a similar vein. It was a kind of a water kefir based soda, essentially soda style concept. And I think as Ben would describe it, as I say, is very fascinated by gut brain connection, fascinated by how modulating for digestive health could give you improved not just physical but cognitive outcomes. And grew up in Santa Cruz and saw how kind of fanatical people were about kombucha, but also saw that, for every one person that liked it, there was kind of 10 that didn't. And so, in his sort of entrepreneurial brain, a very simple linear thinking, he was like, how do I take this to more people? Well, what if it tasted more like a soda rather than a kombucha? And that led into the path of, creating Obi initially, or certainly the liquid concept for that, which was, these kind of kefir-based drinks, low sugar, tasted like soda. And when I first met Ben nearly a decade ago now, as I was leaving my career at Diageo, a multinational spirits company, it was fascinating to me. I didn't know really anything about digestive health, the gut microbiome. I was very inspired by what Ben presented, and thought it was really interesting opportunity to create a disruption in the natural products industry, in soda. I could see, having done a lot of kind of innovation in my corporate life, I could see the things that would kind of work and wouldn't, and how hard it was. I had a lot of failures. And I was like, this is a really smart way to think about it. But it was hard, a decade ago, investors really weren't interested in hearing about a soda concept for the natural products industry. They thought we were crazy. It was like, well, this should, put it in a 16-ounce glass bottle, it should taste more like a sparkling water or something. But we pushed through, and although that company ultimately wasn't successful, we did, the product itself was, and we got a lot of validation for that. And so, when we did exit that venture with, taking a lot of lumps and a lot of lessons from it as well, we then took kind of 2 years to sort of reset and research, and think through again, like, how might we do this, but even better? And we decided that we would only go back and do it again, if we could come up with a better concept, and tying the screws on everything. And the product of those 2 years was OLIPOP.
So by no means an overnight success, and something you just came out with yesterday. And I've had people say that to me, like, it seems like they came out of nowhere, right? And it's like, you did creep up, but clearly you crept up over time and methodically thought about this approach, and it resonates. So Alexa, somebody who works in marketing and social media, we can't keep you quiet too long. So in the trenches, what do you think stands out to consumers that makes this brand special? Like, what is it that is like that resonates so well with consumers?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. And I've thought about it a lot over the years and just watching it grow. And it's been an honor to work alongside David and Ben from the early days of their previous venture into Olipop. And I think what makes it special is the fact that the product has had so much time and intention behind the development and the formulation. I think a lot of people want sort of a quick fix or a brand or a product that is going to sell and make a lot of money, and just kind of to speed right through all the richness that can come about when you spend a lot of time in the trenches of science and education and what's actually going to benefit people and their microbiome. And so, getting to know Ben and watching his dedication to that particular side of the formulation has been really educational personally, and is something that, we're using the lens of soda to make something like the microbiome exciting and fun and accessible. So it's sort of marrying these two ideas and using the vehicle of social media and marketing to translate sometimes a really complicated story, but I feel as if we're always meeting people with where they're at. So, whether it's through visual storytelling, working through artists and photographers, writers, I feel that we spend a lot of time figuring out how to use the medium of social media in a way that is impactful and keeps on pushing the boundary of how deep and how rich that platform can be. And I think whether it's the packaging, whether it's the formulation, whether it's the story of our team and how we execute, I feel like we're breaking down a lot of boundaries and what is possible and how much intentionality goes into every thought process and decision, and how much I think we care and consider our consumer. We really want to put something out there that we stand behind. And even if it's a post on social media, I mean, it's amazing how much we will debate at times what goes out there and how much we truly care. And I think that translates, and I think that feels meaningful to people. So, those are some of the things that have come up for me, and just the fact that we're addressing a major issue in our society and how, many people are still drinking soda. It's incredible just to see Olipop so, easily translated at times, and people don't even need to have a conversation with us to look at the product, be excited by the packaging, experience it, and begin to step into the Olipop world that we've created.
So let's talk about your team. I feel like when I said I mentioned to some people that I was interviewing the brand, and they're like, "Oh, you got to talk to Ben. Oh, you got to talk to Eli. Are you talking to Steven? Like, who are you talking to above and beyond you guys?" And it was like, it just seems like an outsider looking in. I had never heard of any of you before. I met Steven personally in New York before I even knew he was involved really with the brand. And he's awesome, and we've really hit it off. But It seems like one of these like all-star NBA teams where you're bringing in all this different talent of just like rock stars, like each one's better than the next, and everyone tells me, and it's like, how does that go down? Like how is that? How did you put the team together? You guys, it sounds like some of you guys worked together before. How did you assemble this team? And just talk to me a little bit about like early stage financing. Like how did you afford a team of studs early on in the life of the brand?
Well, I'll give you an answer, and then I'm really interested to hear Alexa's perspective on it as well. But yeah, I think, one of the things I would say is sort of just acknowledging our mediocrity in the sense that, like, Ben and I had not, we don't have a track record of, 5 businesses that we've exited for huge money, or, and equally within our team, I mentioned Stephen there. He has adapted in this last year, last 12 months to lead ecom growth for us. Never done that before. So, I think really it's about getting individuals with a growth mindset in their approach, getting people who are a real culture fit for us. And then, for Ben and I, it's about sort of unleashing their brilliance and allowing them the freedom to, build aspects of the business themselves with kind of guidance, partnership, and oversight. You hear Alexa talk there about social and community. I mean, I have a long career in marketing. There's no way I could have, built what Alexa's built. It's very purposeful, well thought through. She's taken real ownership of that aspect of the business. And I'd say that's consistent, across the group as well. So there's actually, not that many people that have sort of come in with sort of huge track record necessarily. And our focus is really on humility when you come into this business, of the we're all part of a team, and we all learn from each other and work together, and we all have our flaws, and we can work through those together. And you sort of recognize for what you do while you're here with us.
Yeah, Alexa, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love the reference to the NBA team. I think that definitely comes up a lot when I think about our team, and was something that I think I had even shared a while back. Once we were starting to, and add more people into the mix, it became, I remember like our first in-person meeting, it started kind of with Expo West, and then we would meet outside regularly with our team. And it was just amazing. Like, you put the sales and the marketing team in the same room together. And remember, David, you would say that wasn't so typical from a corporate background. And there was just a lot of separation. And I think it was amazing because I think we all connected as people, and we all share a lot of the same sort of core values about who we are and our work ethic, and that we want to make an impact and do something different, and that the boundary is always being pushed and set by those who are out in the field. And so I feel that, Ben and David have put a lot of effort and work along with our other team members to just bring in incredible talent. And I think it just became apparent, what some of the aspects were that we kind of all share, and what some of the through lines are on that like core level. But I also think that they've brought in a lot of incredible and like diverse thinking individuals from very different backgrounds and all different states. And we're all working virtually. And I think it's been amazing because even as new people are coming in to the fold, they're finding this flow with everyone. And it's hard to work virtually right now. It's hard to meet new people on Zoom and get productive things done. But I think we all come to it from this like very, I would say, like humanistic place, and we all kind of look at each other and see each other as humans and not robots. And we share this sort of like common drive, and I think we feed off of each other. And we, as like an amazing NBA team would be, is like, when someone's down, you help them up, and when you're up, you bring the rest of the team with you, or you feel safe enough to share your truth and your honesty, and being able to have uncomfortable conversations in productive ways. I think all of that has led to us finding an incredible rhythm, and one that feels really authentic and real, but I think also supports the growth of the business and even the bottom line. So it's been amazing to watch it grow. And yeah, I mean, I think I would definitely consider us one of the best NBA teams out there right now.
You're like the new Brooklyn Nets. And I think it's like it's not by coincidence, right? So a lot of it has to come from the fact that at least a few of you have been at it before. This is not your first rodeo. But it's not like you've built a bunch of 20 different brands and exited all these brands. So I think what I think resonates to me, and I deal with so many brands in this space, is that there's probably some really great brands out there that are so early stage and so underfunded that they're like brand ethos and culture, dude. I can't even. I'm like barely staying alive, and I'm like driving to the factory at 4 in the morning. Like I can't even. I'd love to think about that, but I can't. It seems like you guys have focused on that from day one, and that's why I was asking, from early stage, like day you started. Were you privately financed? Did you bring in finance? Like you must have started on second base with some capital. I don't know that story, and if any of it's private, not a problem. But I would imagine a lot of it's public. You can usually look up things these days. Where did you start from a financial point of view?
Yeah, I mean, and I think just quickly before I go into that, I think you can't afford not to sort of establish culture out the gate because everything flows from it. We hire to our values, and if you don't know what they are, you can't hire a coherent team. You can't coach a group of people and empower them. If you don't have that perspective, and we do spend a lot of time and energy on recruitment. It's sort of a key part of this. I think Liz on our team, our chief of staff, has calculated done like literally hundreds of interviews last year, and screening and chats, and I probably did somewhere close to that as well. But yeah, so in terms of how you get started with this, I think one of the people that's been really key for us actually in our journey is Pat Finn of Think Capital. He was one of our first checks into Obi. He really kind of believed in what we were doing and also in Ben and I as individuals. And it sounds kind of somewhat flippant, but it can be hard to find that in investors out there. Do they just think you got a good product, or what do they think about you as a team and as individuals and as founders? And Pat really believed in us, and say it didn't work out the way that we had planned first time around, but he was our first check-in again on Olipop, and we couldn't have got that start without him, because it's hard. It takes capital to build inventory and just get a product out onto the market. And Ben and I don't have our own sort of resources of wealth or anything. We basically reinvested everything that we took out of Obi in that modest exit back into this venture. And so getting that start was key. And then it does get easier. Like that first round of financing is the hardest. We raised it off a PowerPoint, and and Pat was one of the first guys to step up again and anchored that round for us. So yeah, we certainly wouldn't be here without that belief.
Yeah, I think it's very helpful. And I don't know how old you are, but gray hairs like the ones I have give you experience. And I think starting even with my own agency, whereas other friends I have that opened agencies, they were just like grinding and trying to get business. And I was focused day one from core ethics. We read them at every all hands meeting. Everyone lives and dies by them. I really felt if you want to build an agency or a brand to last, you have to do it from day one, and it has to come out of your pores. And I'm feeling it as an outsider looking in. And so sometimes it's nice to hear that. I would imagine if you're people that are working at your brand, you're probably hearing accolades and seeing nice things. Anyone I mention your brand name to, their eyes light up. And so it's always nice to hear those compliments. What do you guys think about that? Do you pay attention to the street? Are you super humbled when you hear all that? Do you have blinders on and you're just grinding and you don't even look? You just care about insular about what you're doing and then let the chips fall where they may? Where do you fall on that?
I mean, it's definitely, very nice to hear. It's like, as an entrepreneur, it's not, you don't get a lot of positive feedback often. You are just kind of grinding. So I think when you hear that stuff, delivered authentically, it's, really kind of, yeah, it's feels great. It's great to hear. It's great to hear that the work you're putting in is resonating with people. That being said, I think, one of the key things, that I've learned through my entrepreneurial journey is really keeping your ego in check, and that's from both sides, knowing that, I mean, anyone who's been through this will know, I'm sure you've been through it yourself, Adam, with your own business. It's like, 1 minute the perception is you're, the best thing since sliced bread. Next minute the winds have changed and everything you're doing is wrong. And it's just sort of having a clear sense of, you know, internally, like, are we doing the right thing? And it's not ignoring that external noise. Like, you can look at it, there might be some validity in it, and you take that and absorb it and then adjust. But not getting too low in the troughs or too high on the highs. I think is important to sort of, have the stamina as well as we go through. But no, we love hearing, people's positive experiences with the brand. It's really rewarding. But what's your thoughts, Alexa?
Yeah, I think definitely in alignment with you there. We started, I remember when we were first starting our social media feed, like from scratch, from zero, with no paid followers, still to this day. Nothing fake. And I remember in the beginning, like, just feeling like really small and just like trying to really grow this, to really grow this into a beast. And when people, even when we had less than 10,000 followers, we just had a lot of people that were so excited about the brand. And they were already catching on to this special sort of fire that was starting to kindle. And I would say that my feeling of excitement is still the same as we were that size to what we are now, which is like almost at 70,000 real authentic followers. So it's like, I feel like that excitement doesn't change no matter what the size is, but I feel that it's really, like David was saying, it's like when people like just genuinely love something, like that's the spirit that keeps me going and gets me up in the morning every day. It's like the person, who's, maybe like at home and in Idaho, whose daughter just tried Olipop and it changed her life. Like, those little stories, that excitement is really where I think a lot of the richness for me is. And I think, for some of the, the positive feedback and, articles that come out online, like they're great. But in terms of like what has stayed with me or the level of depth, it's like, I think that those stories of, changing people's lives has like sunk in a little bit more deeply. And yeah, like one day Olipop, can be, high on the horse, and the next day we don't know what's going to happen. Like we're still putting ourselves out there. We're still experimenting, even some posts we put out on social, there's still discussion and of, how it goes. And we're really still, I think, discovering ourselves in this early stage. And we're going to have a lot of reflection coming back, but I think we're laying down the foundation of, really who we are. And so that when we make mistakes, people are going to understand how we'll always, I think, accept them with that humility and that honesty to want to keep moving forward and to be better and not to be perfect, but to expose ourselves as real people who are going to work hard for their community. And, just, I don't take any, moment of positivity for granted, and just want to, continue to really show up for the community. So yeah, it's a good question.
I love it. And I appreciate both your perspectives. And, I would imagine that you guys beat yourselves up also, like I do, right? As good as you are and as good as you get accolades, I think the best entrepreneurs are each day, like, how do we do better? Where do we experiment? And you have to dare to fail, right? Like, so there's a handful of brands that I see that, like, I'm going to go on TikTok. Of course, they're on TikTok. Are they posting every day? No, but they've dabbled and they're working with influencers and they tried some creators and they've done that. Check. And it's brands like you, brands like Dream Pops, Midday Squares, I see doing a lot of that. There's like a handful of brands that just seem to be experimenting, and a lot of the early stage stuff stinks. And that's okay. You get a right, you get a pass, and your consumers appreciate the attempt. And you never get to the top of the mountain unless you like go over a couple of hills and figure out your trajectory. So stick with it. I definitely see it. On that thread, what do you suck at? Like for each of you, we're like today, as of what January 20th, what do you suck at in like your own department today that you'd really like to improve on as a brand, as an operator? What's something that comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, there's constant self-reflection on this stuff. I mean, and from a business perspective, I mean, the list is pretty endless. I think it's, it's I've sort of repeated this story a few times internally, but I was listening to Seinfeld on a podcast the other day talking about his, creative process of writing, and how, when he's writing, he's sort of quite kind to himself for that day. Sort of you work for 2 hours, you take a break, doesn't show his work to anyone, for at least 24 hours, and just kind of celebrates the fact that he's sat down and written some stuff. And then he flips and, then starts to interrogate the work and show it to people. And I think, that's really important to have that toggle. It gets very, it can get very exhausting otherwise. And you got to know, treat yourself with a bit of humanity as well. And, we do that. So like everything, like, I mean, we're a 2-year-old business. Like pick anything in our business. We're not, ecom will change dramatically in the next 12 months. Our approach to retail, our execution in the field, how we do social, like everything. I mean, that's what it should be like in an early stage business. And then, as a leader, I'm constantly reflecting as well. I think, one of the big areas of work for me is humility, and ego. I find that whenever I get a lesson in humility, whenever my ego is stripped, which, being an entrepreneur is a pretty good way to to do that to yourselves. I'm sure you found. I learn a lot from it, and so I'm keen to keep learning there as well from my own perspective.
Totally, and I listened to that Seinfeld, and Alex Lieberman, who's the founder of Morning Brew, actually just talked about that in his Founders Journal, which is his daily podcast, and he said how he like totally effed up a meeting, like he steamrolled a meeting. He's so embarrassed, and he referenced it how Seinfeld does that, walks away for 24 hours, then comes back, and he said that's a recommendation for me to learn for myself to do a better job. And as an outsider looking in, I think a lot of people think him and Austin are just killing it. They're like these young buck entrepreneurs. Every single turn, they do it right. The reason they do it right is that they're reflective like that, and they focus on how they can do better at what they did wrong the day before. And so that's what I really pick up from what you just said. And that's the key, right? That's how certain brands really get to the top, I think. And it doesn't mean that you beat yourself up. It just means that you're reflective enough to understand that you can do better, and then you focus on that. So Alexa, your take, what are you stinking at right now? What would you like to be doing better at the brand?
I love this question. I think it's really great to just be able to not take it so seriously all the time. So I would say, I feel like it's something that I kind of did suck at, but I feel like I'm getting incrementally better at. And that's, I think zooming out and getting a lot of things done in advance and doing a lot more prep work for my team, whether that be having our social media posts organized, having feedback around something, and just formulating, just like we're talking about, like just taking the time to reflect and put in that extra legwork of effort to really prepare something that's kind of packaged up for others to see within the internal team, so that they have a lot to sink their teeth into, and that they could see that I really spent my time getting something ready for them, because everyone's really busy now and they don't really have the time to do my work. It's my work to do. So I think I really did stink at that at the beginning. I was total last minute type of a girl. And I realized that if I wanted to get to the next level, I'd have to evolve my story about like who I was and what I was capable of. And, David's been an incredible mentor to me over the years and has encouraged that development. And it's allowed me to continue to grow and see myself as someone who's constantly changing and evolving. And, I just try to glean these positive habits from whether it's David or other team members on how I can do a better job. And I think taking that time to prepare and have things ready in advance leaves so much more room for creative and discussion and time for things to evolve and unravel in like a beautiful way. So yeah, I feel like I really sucked at planning, and now I'm getting a little bit better at it, and I'm really grateful. It's definitely reduced the stress in the startup field. So
I love it. Little steps every day. So let's talk about this pandemic. How have you managed keeping this culture together during the pandemic? Are there employee coworkers you've never met? And how do you communicate with them? I guess, Alexa, I'll tee this one up for you. How have you managed as a social being, somebody handling comms, having been here and grown as the company's grown and brought on, your chief of staff has brought on good new talent? How have you managed the culture and the communication and the breathing room to do great work during a pandemic and being remote?
yeah, great question. I think it's really difficult. I don't think it's been easy for anyone or any brand or any team. I think it's been, this will be a challenge I think we'll all look back on and, have to give ourselves a pat on the back for doing the best we possibly can do, because it's really hard. I mean, we were doing so many events, we were meeting as a team, every 6 to 9 weeks, and we're just building so much of our relationship in person. And, we're such a social species. I really believe that, and part of my efforts in helping to run the community was how do we use our, digital tool of social to create more real community? And that's the end result, is like, we can create anything. Like, let's create a really amazing, thriving and healthy community that people want to be a part of. That's kind of like unique. And I think that in the pandemic, we, like many brands at first, I think it was like kind of a bit of like a shit show at first. Like, people were like, what are we doing? Everyone's pivoting. Like, are we going here or there? What's happening? So it's like after that first initial reaction, I think we were able to collect ourselves and again, like, come back to our values, like who we are, what we want to do. And what came from that was, and what I spent a lot of time on, was creating some purposeful events that were free to our community during those early days and stages of the pandemic. And it really helped me just to feel connected to people, even if I was just seeing them on Zoom. And, we did some amazing classes. Like, we hosted an art class, we hosted a cooking class, we hosted 2 different movement classes. And that's something, I'm really excited to put more effort into this year, because I could feel, people just feeling really grateful to that a brand would even, care to put together some programming like that. And we even did one this past Thanksgiving, and it like got super real. Like, people were opening up. It was like a creative journaling, gratitude exercise. And, we were going into it like, we're so excited. It's going to be so fun. And there was a lot of light, fun comments. And then there were some like really heavy, super real comments. And I facilitated, community events before, so I felt really comfortable to hold, like a very safe space for the people that were there and sharing that. And it was like so beautiful and meaningful to come out of that and to be like, even as like a, healthy soda brand, like we can like hold people's hands through this really dark journey. And I think as we've seen today with like, it's like inauguration day, it's like this huge, there's a new energy coming in just from this year alone. We've grown so much. And I think if anything, we've gotten closer during the pandemic. It's been one of the first times in my life I've been able to actually slow down and go within and reflect on who I am at the end of the day in, these really quiet moments. And sometimes that was like really uncomfortable and really painful, and just being okay with that and working with that. And I even share that with my team sometimes, when I'm going through stuff, and, they're there for me. And I think that's allowed us to create this really beautiful bond, even virtually. And it will just be like the most amazing reunion when we're all together. So I think we've been doing our absolute best, through events and digitally meeting. But, we also, like Liz has put together an incredible, I remember, like, holiday party for us. And as a team, there was like this competition of like how to, we did this whole like dessert baking competition. It was so much fun. And it's just like amazing how much we could even bond through this, like, through Zoom. Or so I think there's ways that we keep it up, that we're still exploring. But yeah, it's just, amazing, to just do our best. And I know that it won't be forever.
Well, it's amazing. I might want to borrow some of those ideas. And what I would say is that some of those things probably brought you closer than you ever would have done without this pandemic. So I'm trying to think, like, how do I keep some of those? Like, those were so good. Why would we not continue with those and really open up? So I'll have to get some notes from you. So David, on the sales side, channel selection, would you say you're more of a D2C brand that does retail also, or a retail brand that does D2C also? Or how do you go about your channel preference or channel management?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely a retail first brand. Yeah, we're cans of heavy sodas, so it's not sort of intrinsically a product that lends itself well to D2C. But we have seen pretty phenomenal growth since the beginning of the pandemic, when we were forced to kind of, pivot and grow that aspect of the business. And so I think what we have found is, we're still kind of exploring. I mean, who knows where it goes from here? But a really amazing tool for marketing. This sort of digital flywheel that we invest in now. And a really great platform. And I think I don't come across that many brands that have the split that we do, which is is kind of like 40% D2C right now, 60% retail. So it tends to be, I guess, either like pretty skewed retail, 80% or so, or the other way. So the two work very synergistically, actually. And I've spoken to a number of founders that have retail distribution as well as D2C, and often it is the case that as you open up more retail distribution, it will actually give your D2C numbers a boost in that area, just as the awareness increases, or the marketing that we're doing online will help drive people into store or increase awareness. So yeah, ultimately retail, but yeah, we're on an exciting D2C journey for sure.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I think that I asked some people before I got on with you, and they're like, "Yeah, they're D2C," and I'm like, "Are they though?" Because they're, I know that they're retail. It is a beverage. Like, are you sure? And I think people put you in this category of this like darling CPG, this darling beverage category, so they must be D2C. Even people that say, "Oh, you're in social media, you're all e-commerce." I'm like, actually, most of the clients we work with are primarily, some exclusively retail. So just because paid social and all these things, are trackable and there's data and you can show ROAS, like most CPG and beverage brands and spirit brands are on premise, off premise, in real life. They're not D2C. So being able to be 40/60 with a beverage is impressive. So hats off to you guys. What would you say makes you poised for greatness on the D2C side over the next 11 months, 2021? What do you see as like the big lever that might uptick things for you, David?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of things we're looking at, but I think it's there's obviously different ways that you can build, a D2C business. Amazon is one. We really haven't done anything much there up until this point. We've been very focused on our own channels to sort of own that data and own the relationship. And it's hard work. We've been at it for nearly 12 months now, and we feel like we're just starting to get a bit of a handle on it. I'm finding it's a lot of kind of like brick on top of brick as you go, and just sort of learning. And so we brought new skill sets into the team that we didn't have before. We now have not just hiring people from sort of traditional CPG startup, but also from VaynerMedia recently, Tom Shoes, who've really helped upskill us, and really quickly. And it's exciting that I mean, it's fun. Like, the pace of the thing is is huge. You know, we say I think we sold more on Black Friday than we did, you know, in the whole month of February. You know, to see that, you know, you can't. It's hard to get that in retail when you're building it sort of door by door. So yeah, it's really exciting to watch.
I love it. And I think that, you know, one of the big areas of focus when I got in this space, beverage brands, some old school guy, I won't name who it is, took me and is like, listen, if you're a beverage brand, the goal is either get bought by Coke, get bought by Pepsi, or get bought by Dr. Pepper. That is the end goal, and that's it. And if you don't, and they pass you by, you're screwed. So I ask you guys, is the goal to ultimately sell the brand to a big conglomerate, sell it to somebody, keep it for the next 20 years? I know not everyone knows that, but I do notice some entrepreneurs have a 5-year plan or something like that. What is the end goal, at least as you see it today?
In all honesty, we're not entirely sure where it ends up. You know, I think regardless of, you know, whether you plan to IPO or to sell or to continue running the brand, you know, the strategy is pretty consistent in the sense of, you know, you have to get to profitability quite quickly. So we're very focused on that. You've got to be growing rapidly as well. You've got to be making strategic decisions that are going to compound into good outcomes in 3-5 years down the line. So, you know, I think I'm candidly, I didn't enjoy my first experience in startup. It was extremely stressful. Yeah, it was painful, and I am really enjoying this one. And you know, it's that that journey is what I'm sort of very focused on now. Of like, you know, how do we and the experience. It's very, you know, it really is an honor, I think, to be able to do something like this, to have the freedom to work in a business like this with the people that we do. So, you know, yeah, we have, you know, revenue goals that we want for the growth of the brand, and we are focused on profitability. We're focused on making as much impact as possible. You know, it's really hard, and we might fail at it. And if we do, hopefully someone else picks up from where we left off. But taking, you know, what is essentially, you know, Ben's put together is this extremely well thought through, you know, functional product, to the point that, you know, I think recently we just announced that, you know, we're going to be included in Dr. Jens Walter's human trial for the reintroduction of fiber into the Western diet. And, you know, that guy's a, you know, top 1% cited, you know, microbiologist globally. And he looked at what Ben had put together and was like, this is, you know, one of the most advanced solutions I've ever seen for how to modulate for digestive health. So, you know, how do you take that? And, you know, as sort of as a marketer myself, as, you know, my training, that's really fascinating. And that's, you know, as I got into startup and as I spoke to Ben, it was like, this is exactly the kind of guy that I wanted to work with, because I wanted to understand how I could apply the skills that I'd learned of, you know, putting that window out there for people of something aspirational, but to funnel them into something that was actually going to be beneficial for them, and their health. And that's really interesting. And we're looking at that as a team to be like, how do we, you know, I mean, soda's a great vehicle, as you mentioned, because it cuts across race, age, gender, you know, socioeconomic groups. Like, everyone drinks soda. It has something like, you know, 90% household penetration. Like, everyone has a memory with it. So we're just kind of really interested as a group to see how far can we take this, and how many people can we take this product to.
That was a good answer. I like that it's not, we have this definite thing that we're trying to be sold. We're actually trying to focus on growing our business. We're trying to be profitable. And there's this whole science aspect to it, right? It's not like the keto diet fad and you made a keto bar and you're like, we're in and out. Like, you are in it for the long haul. I've heard some podcasts with Ben talking about his geeked out background. It's above my pay grade mentally, but I'm like, I'm in. I like it. And to be honest with you, I quit soda cold turkey in college. I'm like, I'm done. I will never have a soda again. And it's been like a badge of honor. But Steven had me pick up, I think at Buy Chloe or something, some QSR or something. I picked one up like a while back, drank it, and I'm like, why do I need to be so binary and not have soda? Like, that's interesting. So even a reintroduction from the people that cut it out, because, you didn't cut out soda per se. You cut out, 75 grams of sugar or whatever the hell is in most of these out there. And I just think you're hitting it from all angles. We covered culture, obvious. We covered the microbiome data stuff, and I think people are starting to come around to that. And then you're hitting them on soda, so I think that's a big part of this perfect storm for your brand. I'm sure you know it, but that's what I'm reading as I interview you here today, and as we start to get towards the end of this conversation. I could talk to you guys for days, but I know that there's diminishing returns after a certain amount of time. People will tune it out. And I don't want that to happen. I hope a lot of people listen to this. I'm curious, Alexa, is there another brand, just before we sign off, that you look at that you're like, I just love, from a social media point of view, I just love what they're up to? And if there is one, who is it?
Yeah, I think it's one that I think will kind of line up, I think probably with David too, but we talk about it a lot and did a lot at the beginning. But I think Outdoor Voices really kind of broke the seal for what's possible in kind of like the athleisure, inspirational, brand on social media. And I think the way that they have portrayed really real and unique individuals and have made doing things a much more approachable and inspiring message for movement. Really beautiful and powerful. And, I think they've gone through a huge transformation as a brand, but I think on social media, their community is really outstanding. And I just loved seeing how much content their community would be creating in all of their outfits and kind of what that outfit represented on a much deeper level. And so, I just think creatively, from a story perspective, from an inclusivity perspective, they did it with flying colors, and I still applaud them for continuing to evolve and pivot even with their challenges. I know that must be really, really hard, and I think that they're still continuing, and I think I look to them for inspiration a lot as well.
Totally. And that's a good observation. Like dealing with all of that and still staying the course, not easy. So that's a good one. David, I'll ask you too, as a sort of wrap up question. What is one CPG or beverage brand not named OLIPOP that you love, and why?
Yeah, and Instagram targets me like a millennial female because I follow all of the
same
that Alexa tells me to follow. Yeah, I mean, I think there's lots of great brands out there. I'm a kind of brand junkie. I think as we were developing this product, I was looking a lot at brands like Seedlip, who were tackling spirits from non-alc perspective. Halo Top Creamery is really interesting in ice cream, Beyond Meat and Impossible. And I think what was kind of fascinating about those brands, as I look at, say, Halo Top, for example, they weren't the first low calorie ice cream, but I think they were certainly one of the first to understand that ice cream as a category is about indulgence. So, if you're not delivering on that, then it's not going to work. People aren't going to pick it up. So telling you to eat to the bottom of the tub, the gold packaging, the indulgent flavors, is a necessary element. And Seedlip really understood that, spirits is about a special occasion for people. So if it feels like a compromise, people are not going to buy in. But you look at that brand, the way that they executed it, for me as a former spirits marketer, it's like Spirits 101, beautiful packaging, cocktails, they added to the experience, didn't take away from it. And so for us, we recognize that we're in the soda category, and soda is about fun and human connection and refreshment and delicious flavors. And if we can't do that, then people aren't gonna buy into this. People don't buy into Beyond Meat because they are thinking about saving the planet. They're hungry, and they want a juicy burger, and you have to kind of take them there first. So I mean, yeah, there's tons of brands I could cite. I spend all day, I feel sometimes looking at them, but those are certainly ones as we were kind of developing this that we paid a lot of attention to.
I mean, great examples. Big fans of them both, and I think that I asked one of my employees about this, and what resonated about your brand and the house brand was like, I actually don't even know what they are, but I want to get involved on both. That's what they said to me. And I'm like, same. Like, I don't even fully, are they like, what? I just want to get involved. And then like I got house and I tried it. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So it's like, that's a powerful brand to be able to get somewhere where they feel like they want to try the brand and they want to be a part of that community. And then, oh, added bonus, it tastes good or it's got a benefit. So kudos to you guys for that. This has been a really great conversation. I really appreciate having you. Alexa, where do people find you guys online?
Yeah, check us out on the IG at Drink Olipop. And we have a Twitter that we're going to be investing a lot of strategy behind as well this year, I think, too. So that's at Drink Olipop. And we are still growing and experimenting on TikTok if that's a channel people want to check out. And then obviously our website, drinkolipop.com, to order directly to your door or find a store locator.
Perfect. And if you haven't tried them, you should get out there and try them, whether it's in retailer or direct to consumer. Give it a taste. I think you'll be a fan, just like I was. This has been my conversation with David and Alexa from Olipop. Thanks so much for being here, guys.
Thanks, Adam.
So much, Adam.